blew it.
No, there are times when I wish I could go back and redo it.
Do it the Conan way.
The Conan way.
Kenny Rogers died at 81 years old. Now his wife breaks her silence on what really happened. Behind the legendary voice of Kenny Rogers lies a story yet to be told. Stay tuned to uncover the hidden truths his wife is revealing for the first time since his passing. Don't miss it. Kenny Rogers' legendary career. The path Kenny Rogers has taken in the music business is one of tenacity, skill, and adaptation. Rogers, born in Houston, Texas in 1938, started his musical career in the 1950s with a rockabilly band before joining the jazz group Bobby Doyle III. Early events developed his adaptability to let him flow naturally between genres. But Rogers started to get noticed, mostly with a folk pop ensemble, The First Edition, especially with the tune Just Dropped In to See What Condition My Condition Was In. This accomplishment prepared him for his solo career, in which he discovered his real voice in country music. With his distinctive combination of country, pop, and rock influences, Rogers swept the nation music scene in the 1970s. A broad audience responded well to his clear voice and skillful narrative technique, which produced top-notch singles such as Lucille, The Gambler, and Coward of the County. Every song not only hit the top, but also delivered gripping tales that really spoke to listeners. Rogers was gifted in bringing every word he spoke to life, transforming ordinary melodies into the anthems of ups and downs in life. But have you ever wondered what kept him going all those years? You're about to find out. The career of Kenny Rogers is evident of both his great talent and the broad popularity of his music. Rogers accumulated an amazing amount of honors over the years. Among his 3 Grammy Awards were those for Best Male Country Vocal Performance for Lucille and Best Male Country Vocal Performance for The Gambler. These hits came to define Rogers' name and helped him to win the hearts of country music lovers all over. Apart from his Grammys, Rogers was inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame in 2013 and won 18 American Music Awards, therefore confirming his reputation as one of the all-time greats in country music. One of the best-selling musicians of all time, his ability to close the country-pop divide helped him to sell over 100 million records globally. Rogers showed his adaptability and unrelenting ambition by dabbling in acting, photography, business, and music, therefore transcending his singular achievement. Yet these awards only tell part of the story. What was the driving force behind his relentless pursuit of excellence? One cannot measure Kenny Rogers' impact on country music. He gave the genre fresh direction by combining it with pop sensibilities, therefore increasing its appeal. His crossover breakthrough made country music more reachable to a worldwide audience by allowing other musicians to explore many sounds. Rogers was a brilliant storyteller, as well as a singer whose songs frequently captured the challenges and successes of daily living. Particularly The Gambler, which, with its lyrics, offers knowledge much beyond the poker table and became a cultural benchmark. Beyond his solo work, Rogers was well known for his partnerships with other legendary musicians. With Islands in the Stream, his duet with Dolly Parton became among the best-selling hits of all time and showcased the chemistry between the two performers. The popularity of the song was evidence of Rogers' capacity for human connection and generation of ageless music spanning several genres. His impact went beyond music, since he was also well known for his charity and dedication to returning the favors to society. Rogers' legacy is not just in his songs, but also in his living style, always trying to change the world. But there's something more to Kenny Rogers that few people know. Stay with us to uncover the secrets behind his enduring legacy. Kenny Rogers' private life and relationships. Kenny Rogers was equally well known for his personal life as for his songs. He married 5 times throughout the years, each partnership offering unique difficulties and life lessons. Just 19 years old, his first marriage to Janice Gordon in 1958 broke down 2 years later, soon after the birth of his daughter Carol. Rogers' complex love life was shaped by this early encounter with marriage. He admitted that the responsibilities of his work made it challenging to keep a consistent home life and regularly discussed the stresses that celebrity put on his relationships. Rogers' most enduring and maybe most important relationship was that with Wanda Miller, his 5th wife. Despite their 28-year age difference, the two bonded fast in the 1990s. Married in 1997, they had twin boys, Justin and Jordan, in 2004. Rogers said Wanda was his true mate and praised her with giving his later years stability and joy. Their romance was evidence of the fact that real love can blossom even under the weight of celebrity. And now, let's dive into what you've been waiting for, the truth behind the man. Notwithstanding his success, Rogers struggled to juggle his family life with his job. Being a global star entailed long stretches away from home, which affected his marriages since it was demanding. He was open about the mistakes he made putting his job above his relationships. Rogers said that occasionally his unrelenting quest of success resulted in neglect of his personal life, which helped to cause his first 4 marriages to fall apart. Rogers did, nevertheless, also grow from these encounters. He became more intentional in his later years in juggling job and family to make sure he spent quality time with Wanda and their kids. Although he expressed remorse about not being able to be there for his elder children as much as he would have wanted, he deliberately tried to be more present for Justin and Jordan. This change in focus highlighted Rogers' personal development and demonstrated how even icons are not exempt from the challenges of juggling career with personal life. But there's still more to uncover. How did he navigate these challenges, and what lessons did he learn? Hearing from people closest to Kenny Rogers will help one to properly appreciate him. Friends, relatives, and fellow musicians have characterized Rogers as a multifarious man with a great heart. One of his closest friends and partners, Dolly Parton, regularly discussed Rogers' kindness and ability to make everyone around him feel unique. Their friendship lasted decades, and Parton once remarked that Rogers had a technique for relating to people that made them feel as though they were the only ones in the room. Rogers' kids have also offered observations on their father's life, creating an image of a man committed to his family despite the demands of celebrity. Particularly his boys have discussed how Rogers tried to be present in their life despite his business demanding so much of his time. They said he was a devoted father who constantly strove to keep his family anchored, even with his worldwide fame. These first-hand stories expose a side of Kenny Rogers that the public hardly ever saw. A guy who, despite flaws, loved his family and treasured the relationships he developed over his life. The knowledge of people close to him helps one to develop a complete picture of Rogers outside the stage. But what was it that made him the man that he was? Let's explore the deeper truths behind Kenny Rogers' private life. The final years. Kenny Rogers had various health issues in later years of life that finally caused him to retire. The rigors of a career spent on stage and on the road started to wear on him physically. Rogers was open about his battles with medical conditions, including bladder cancer, diagnosed in the middle of the 2010s. Along with other age-related issues, this illness drove Rogers to make the tough choice to fade from the front stage. Rogers said he wanted to spend more time with his family and concentrate on his health. Hence, he declared he would be retiring from touring in 2017. Fans who appreciated his decision to give his health top priority responded in waves of support. Rogers was hopeful and appreciative of the life he had lived even though his condition was worsening. His openness about his health issues let his supporters see a vulnerable side of him and reminded them that even icons are people too. But what was the real reason behind his retirement? Just wait until you hear what Kenny Rogers himself had to say about this. Rogers turned more and more on the legacy he would leave behind as his health deteriorated. He was resolved to make sure his contributions to music and influence of the business world live long in memory for many generations. Rogers worked to confirm his legacy in his latter years by publishing a complete set of his best-known songs and embarking on a farewell tour called The Gambler's Last Deal. Rogers also actively participated in charitable endeavors, leveraging his wealth and power to return to his hometown. Known for his kindness, he supported several charities, including children's hospitals and disaster relief operations. Rogers aimed to be recognized as someone who changed the world as well as a musician. In an interview, he once remarked that his best legacy would be his compassion for others and the effect he had on the life of people around him. But there's more to his legacy than just his music. Find out how Kenny made sure his impact would last forever. In his legendary career, Kenny Rogers' last performances marked a mixed chapter. The Gambler's Last Deal, his retirement tour, celebrated his 6 decades in music and paid a moving farewell to his supporters as well. Beginning in 2016, the tour brought Rogers around the United States and Europe so he could spend one more visit with his supporters. Rogers delivered his best hits with the same passion and energy that had defined his career, so each performance was bursting with feeling. Rogers made his last public appearance during a memorable event in Nashville in 2018 honoring his contributions to music, featuring musicians including Dolly Parton, Lionel Richie, and Rebecca McEntire. For a guy who had devoted so much to the business, the concert was an appropriate farewell. In his last years, Rogers also made a point of spending more time with his family, especially his twin sons Justin and Jordan. He talked often about the happiness they offered him and his wish to be there with them for their upbringing. Rogers considered his profession and life in one of his last interviews. He said he was at peace with his path and had no regrets. Though he had committed mistakes, he also had a life filled of love, music, and pleasure. His last words to his supporters were a sincere thank you for their unflinching support over all the years. And now, as we reflect on Kenny's final years, there's one last thing you need to hear from the man himself. The day Kenny passed away. Though it was not totally surprising, the day Kenny Rogers died signaled the end of an era. Rogers' health had been slowly worsening in the months before his death. Having been in and out of hospital for several illnesses, those close to him realized he was almost at the end of his road. Rogers passed away quietly at his Sandy Springs, Georgia house, surrounded by his family on the night of March the 20th, 2020. Natural causes, that is, his protracted struggle with health problems, including bladder cancer and other complications, were reported as the official cause of death. Shortly after his death, his family issued a statement expressing their sadness and thanks for the worldwide love and support shown by all his supporters. The word of Rogers' passing traveled fast, and within hours, tributes from all over the world started to arrive, mirroring a great influence that he had on so many lives. But the most shocking part of this story is yet to come. Stay with us. Special tributes to Rogers were included in Academy of Country Music Awards and other big music events that year, so reinforcing his reputation as a titan of the business. Rogers' death also spurred fresh curiosity in his life and work. As fans tried to learn more about the guy behind the music, documentaries, books, and pieces on his life started to surface. Sales surged in his autobiography, Luck or Something Like It, and many who had never before pursued his whole body of work spent time learning the depth and breadth of his contributions to music. But as we look back on his incredible life and career, there's one final story about Kenny Rogers that you absolutely need to hear. His wife's silence and why she kept quiet. Wanda Miller was his confidant, friend, and the love of his life, not only his wife. Their relationship started in the 1990s when Wanda was a hostess in a restaurant. The two fast fell in love despite their 28-year age difference, and they were married in 1997. Rogers regularly told everyone in interviews how much Wanda meant to him, and their relationship was very close. Particularly in his final years, he said she was his soulmate, someone who gave his life stability and happiness. Together, they produced twin boys, Justin and Jordan, born in 2004, and Rogers regularly talked about how Wanda and her kids made his life whole. Still, Wanda herself stayed mostly under the radar, even if Rogers' life was public. Valuing their privacy above public attention, she wanted to help her husband quietly from behind the scenes. Wanda's first silence was obvious after Rogers passed away in March of 2020, which again left many wondering how she was handling the great loss. And now we're finally hearing from her. This is what she wants the world to know. Wanda made a very personal choice to be quiet in the weeks and months after Kenny's passing. Wanda followed a different route than many famous couples who might decide to publicize their loss. Those closest to her admitted she needed time to discreetly be away from public view to process her grief. Losing Kenny was the death of a life partner who had been by her side for more than 2 decades, in addition to a husband loss. Wanda believed that the weight of the loss was great and that her best approach to deal with it was to keep quiet. Wanda also knew that any public comment she made would attract great media attention. She understood that both the press and supporters would endlessly examine and scrutinize whatever she said. This was not something a woman who had always cherished her privacy wanted to go through at such a trying period. Rather, she decided to process her new reality over time and grieve in her own manner. But after all this time, why did Wanda finally break her silence? The answer will surprise you. Wanda concentrated on her children and the memories she and Kenny had created together in the months that followed his death. Surrounded by the items that reminded her of him, the music he had produced, the letters and notes he had written, and the many pictures of their family, she found comfort in the quiet times. Wanda also drew on a close-knit collection of friends and relatives who helped her get through this trying period. Wanda managed her grief by carrying on the kind job that had been so vital to Kenny. Returning to the community was, she knew, a means of honoring his memory and ensuring his legacy endured. By means of these deeds of compassion, Wanda discovered a means to transform her grief into something constructive, therefore healing her own heart by serving others. Wanda spoke in a way that felt real to her, quietly and with dignity, when she was at last ready to be public. She said in a rare interview her thanks for the love and encouragement she had gotten from supporters all around the world, but she also made it plain that her path through loss was very personal. Many have found inspiration in Wanda's fortitude and will in the face of such a great loss, since it demonstrates that even in the worst of circumstances, one can find a path ahead. And now, with her story out in the open, Wanda has one final message she wants to share, something she hopes will resonate with everyone who loved Kenny. The truth revealed by Wanda. Following almost 3 years of silence, Wanda Miller chose to share with the world the last days she spent with Kenny Rogers, therefore providing a window into their private life during this intensely emotional period. Driven by a need to clear the record, tell the truth about her husband's last moments, and honor the legacy of a man who had affected so many lives, Wanda decided to speak out. Wanda said those last days were both lovely and terrible at the same time. she told how Kenny stayed emotionally present and mentally bright despite physical weakness. His spirit never wavered, even as his body started to fail him. Wanda was at his side, holding his hand, chatting to him, and reminding him of their love at every moment. Though she knew the end was close, she opted to honor the life they had shared instead of dwelling on her grief at losing him. Wanda stated in those last minutes with Kenny that he was surrounded by his family, including the twin sons Justin and Jordan. Speaking gently, they shared memories, turned on his preferred music, and made sure he felt loved and cherished. Wanda underlined that Kenny died quietly, without suffering or anxiety, and that his last hours were surrounded by the love of family and the solace of knowing he had led a complete and meaningful life. And just when you think you've heard it all, Wanda's final revelation about Kenny will leave you speechless. Wanda wants to send a message she thinks Kenny Rogers would want his followers to hear by telling her story. Kenny stayed, at his core, a modest man who never forgot his beginnings, even with his enormous popularity and fortune. Wanda related how often Kenny expressed great thanks for his life and the many chances he had been given. Though he knew he had a great influence on the music scene, he never let it boost his ego or compromise his basic ideals. For Kenny, the love he experienced with his family and the close relationships he developed with his supporters defined most aspects of his life. Wanda underlined that Kenny would want his supporters to remember him not only as a well-known artist, but also as a man who really cared about others and led a moral life. She considered how Kenny's last request was for his followers to keep enjoying his music and to carry on the love and compassion lessons he sought to teach via his lyrics. Wanda said that although Kenny passed, his music would continue to unite people and that his legacy would be one of love, peace, and understanding. Driven by her need to respect Kenny's legacy and give his supporters the closure they deserved, Wanda decided to share this personal information about his last hours. Although she said it was difficult, she felt sharing such intimate knowledge was essential for honoring Kenny's actual legacy. Just as Wanda had found comfort in knowing that Kenny is at peace, she hopes her disclosures may help others find peace and understanding in their own life. She thinks she may enable his supporters to better value the depth of Kenny's character and the actual core of his legacy by providing this window into his last days and the guy behind the public persona. But there's one more thing Wanda revealed that will leave you speechless. Wanda sent a sincere letter to Kenny's supporters, expressing her great thanks for their unwavering love and support of her and her family through this very trying period. Though Wanda said that the outpouring of compassion from Kenny's supporters had been a great source of solace and strength, the days following his death were marked with loss and grief. The comments, honors, and tales told by his supporters from all around remind us of the great influence Kenny had on so many lives. Although Wanda admitted losing Kenny was the toughest thing she had ever gone through, she found comfort in knowing that his songs, legacy, and love will live on for generations. Wanda also used the chance to consider the need of appreciating the people we love even now, emphasizing that the times we spend with loved ones are the most priceless presents we can present and accept. She spoke sincerely on how transient and precious life is. Wanda exhorted everyone to spend some time telling their loved ones how much they meant to them, to make lifelong memories, and to live life with full heart. She encouraged Kenny's supporters to keep in mind that, just as he had loved the relationships in his life, they too should value and care for the bonds they had with people dear to them. Wanda's comments were a gentle reminder to everyone to welcome the love in their own life as well as an homage to Kenny. Wanda said in her last remarks great solace in knowing that Kenny Rogers, a man who really lived life to the fullest, was now at peace. She urged his supporters to honor him with a smile, reminding them of the happiness and friendliness his songs and giving attitude gave to the planet. Wanda's message was straightforward and strong. Even if Kenny might no longer be with us, those who knew and loved him will always carry with them his legacy of love, music, and compassion. And now, with this story finally told, the legacy of Kenny Rogers continues to inspire us all. The legacy Kenny left behind. The outpouring of affection and respect from supporters and fellow musicians, both when word of Kenny Rogers' death surfaced, was simply astounding. Tributes, memories, and sincere comments from people touched by his music and compassion inundated social media. Many of the country music industry's other musicians, many of whom had looked up to Rogers as a friend and mentor, told tales of how he had shaped their paths and motivated them to aim high. Among the first to share their grief was Dolly Parton, who notably worked with Kenny on the legendary duet Islands in the Stream. She said she had lost one of her beloved friends and that the world had lost a real music great. Fans from various walks of life also offered their tributes, explaining how Kenny's songs had been the soundtrack to their life, offering consolation, happiness, and inspiration over the years. From his early songs like The Gambler to his more recent efforts, Kenny's music had a way of profoundly emotionally connecting with people, and this connection was seen in the tributes that arrived from all over the world. Generations to follow will carry his legacy as a performer, storyteller, and a man of tremendous character. But what truly cements Kenny's legacy isn't just his music, it's what he did off stage that makes him unforgettable. Although Kenny Rogers is most known for his extraordinary contributions to music, his impact goes much beyond the stage. Kenny showed a great dedication to returning to his community over his life, and his charitable activities have had a long-lasting effect on many, many different lives. Driven by topics he was particularly enthusiastic about, including education, children's welfare, and disaster relief, his participation in philanthropic events, creating the Kenny Rogers Children's Center in Missouri, was one of his most important gifts. Offering necessary support to families and children most in need, this clinic offers specific treatment and care for children with special needs. Apart from providing financial assistance for the institution, Kenny himself visited there many times to guarantee his real and sincere participation. The center's ongoing running is evidence of his ongoing compassion and generosity, helping innumerable families and underlining Kenny's will to change the world. Beyond his direct philanthropy, Kenny used his clout to generate money for a range of charities and awareness for them. He was well known for attending benefit concerts, where he would sing to assist different humanitarian projects and campaigns. Further broadening his influence outside the music business, he kindly gave earnings from his CDs to organizations he cared about. Kenny also created scholarships for budding artists so they might follow their aspirations and leave their imprint on the business as well. His commitment to generosity defined his character more than it did his public image. Using his platform and success, he helped those in need and brought about good change. Others are still motivated to follow in Kenny Rogers' footsteps by his legacy of giving, since it shows that real brilliance is determined not only by achievements, but also by the effect one has on the life of others. His charitable activities have had a lasting impact that guarantees his influence will be felt for many years to come. And as powerful as his charitable work was, there's something about his music that makes Kenny truly timeless. The timeless quality of Kenny Rogers' songs spans generations, hence his impact on country music is almost unrivaled. His special ability to combine melody with narrative produce songs that really connect to listeners and arouse strong feelings. More than just hits, classics like Lucille, Lady, and Coward of the County convey the richness of the human experience with astounding clarity. Few musicians could equal Kenny's voice. With its warm, raspy tones, it brought these stories to life, therefore creating a lasting impression on the genre and its listeners. The legend of Kenny Rogers goes well beyond his songs. His humility, compassion, and approachability helped him to appeal to colleagues as well as fans everywhere. Never allowing success to define him, he stayed grounded and loyal to himself despite his notoriety. This genuineness elevated him above mere celebrity status to make him a beloved person in the music business and beyond. One of the main reasons Kenny's legacy lives on is his real nature, shown on and off the stage. Those who loved him still find great resonance in his sincere contacts and ongoing presence. When one considers Kenny Rogers' life and work, one realizes that his influence is well beyond his mere musical success. He leaves a legacy distinguished by great compassion, giving, and close relationships with his supporters. Supporting children's causes and disaster assistance, among other humanitarian endeavors, Kenny's activities revealed his will to change the world. Listeners of all generations still find resonance in his music because of its emotional depth and storytelling quality. Furthermore, Kenny's sincere character and humility won over both his supporters and colleagues, thus he stayed grounded despite his notoriety. His efforts have permanently changed the music business, as well as the hearts of people who looked up to him. Through his ageless music, charitable endeavors, and enduring influence on every person he touched, Kenny Rogers leaves behind an incredible legacy. And now, here's something that will ensure Kenny Rogers remains unforgettable. To uncover more secrets about music legends like Kenny Rogers, check out our next video. Don't miss the shocking revelations. We've saved the best for last.